Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Highlanders Rugby Union. The Highlanders are a New Zealand professional rugby union team based in Dunedin that compete in Super Rugby. The team represents the North Otago, and Southland unions. The Highlanders take their name from the Scottish immigrants that helped found the Otago, North Otago, and Southland regions in the 1840s and 1850s. Their main ground through the 2011 Super Rugby season was Carisbrook in Dunedin, with home games occasionally being played in Invercargill and Queenstown. The Highlanders moved into Carisbrook's replacement, Forsyth Bar Stadium at University Plaza. For the 2012 season, the stadium opened in time for the 2011 Rugby World Cup. But after the Super Rugby season, the team was formed in 1996 to represent the Lower South Island in the newly formed Super 12 competition. They finished the inaugural season 8th, and the following season finished last after winning only 3 of 11 matches. However, in the 1998, 1999 and 2000 seasons they qualified for semi-finals, hosting the 1999 competition final against fellow South Island team the Crusaders. They lost the match 24-19, and the following year were again knocked out by the Crusaders, this time in their semi-final. In the following 15 seasons they would only finish in the top 4 once more, in 2002. But in 2015, they were crowned Super Rugby champions after beating the Hurricanes at Westpac Stadium. Former Highlander, Anton Oliver has played a record 127 games for the Highlanders, and 13 other players have played over 50 games for the team. The Highlanders' highest career points scorer is Tony Brown, with 857 points, and highest career try scorer is Jeff Wilson with 35. They are currently coached by Tony Brown, and are co-captained by Ben Smith and Ash Dixon. History. The Highlanders franchise was created as one of the 5 New Zealand teams in the Super 12. Originally named the Otago Highlanders, the Highlanders franchise area encompassed the Lower South Island of New Zealand, and was formed from the North Otago, and Southland provincial rugby unions. Stadium. The 1996 team was captained by John Leslie and coached by Gordon Hunter. Their first Super 12 match was against the Queensland Reds at Carisbrook on 3 March 1996, whom they defeated 57-17. After 3 matches the Highlanders were undefeated and leading the competition. However, the following week, at Loftusversfeld Stadium in South Africa they were defeated 59-29 by Northern Transvaal. They only won 2 more games that season, against at Carisbrook and against the Canterbury Crusaders at Lancaster Park, and they finished the season 8th on the table. 1997 was the least successful season ever for the Highlanders. They finished last in the competition, and managed only 3 wins. They were now coached by Glenn Ross and captained by Tyne Randall. Their 8 defeats that season included a 75-43 loss to Natal in Durban. The points scored by Natal included 50 points by Gavin Lawless, a competition record. Following the last place in the 1997 season, Tony Gilbert was appointed as coach. Their first game under his guidance was an upset 26-19 win over the Queensland Reds. The Highlanders eventually became the first New Zealand side to defeat all 4 South African teams in one season. After defeating the Bulls at Loftusversfeld, they needed the Queensland Reds not to defeat the Brumbies by a large margin. Queensland were defeated by the Brumbies 23-16 and the Highlanders finished 4th, thus qualifying for the semi-finals. In the semi-final, they faced defending champions the Auckland Blues. At Eden Park, the Blues were leading 20-16 at half-time, and were leading 30-26 before a controversial try to Adrian Cashmore pushed the Blues to a 37-26 lead. Jolie Vidiri had illegally taken out Highlander Stanley off the ball. The following season in 1999, the Highlanders improved on the 1997 season record by reaching and hosting the tournament final. They opened their season with a 19-13 victory over the Auckland Blues at Carisbrook. This was followed by a victory over the Northern Bulls, the Stormers at Carisbrook, and the Cats, before their first loss of the season to the Sharks. They returned to New Zealand to defeat the Waikato Chiefs and then the Crusaders. After defeating the Reds, the Highlanders lost to the New South Wales Waratahs at Carisbrook. The next week they defeated the Brumbies at the same venue. In the next match, despite leading the Wellington Hurricanes 14-3 at halftime, the Highlanders lost when Hurricanes halfback Jason Spice scored in the corner to give the Hurricanes a 21-19 victory. Had the Highlanders won, they would have finished top of the table and hosted a semi-final at Carisbrook. Instead, they then had to travel to South Africa, where they defeated the Stormers 33-18. The Highlanders travelled back to Dunedin for the 1999 Super 12 final, which was against South Island rivals the Canterbury Crusaders, and was billed as the party at Tony Brown's house, after Highlanders' first 5/8 Tony Brown. The Highlanders scored first, and led 14-9 at half-time. However, the decisive try was to Crusaders winger Fatoso Arlo, who chipped the ball, then out-sprinted All Blacks winger Jeff Wilson to collect the ball and score. Although the Highlanders scored a try to Isitolo Maka with 3 minutes remaining, the Crusaders won 24-19. The Highlanders opened their 2000 season with a 50-13 victory over the Queensland Reds at Carisbrook. They won the next 3 matches, against the Sharks, Hurricanes and Cats. However, they then lost their following 3, against the Crusaders, Brumbies, and Blues. They played the Crusaders at Jade Stadium in their semi-final, and were defeated 37-15 after Marika Vunibarka scored 2 tries for the Crusaders in the last 20 minutes. The next season opened with the 23-8 victory over the Blues. Their 39-20 defeat of the Waratahs at Carisbrook on the 7th of April was the first defeat of New South Wales by an Otago-based side since the Otago provincial team defeated New South Wales 5-0 in 1901. The Highlanders narrowly lost to the Hurricanes in Napier 35-33 before defeating the Brumbies at Carisbrook on the 20th of April. Although the Highlanders went undefeated at home for a second consecutive season, they finished 5th with 6 wins that season. At Wellington in 2005, their first win over them at that venue, Laurie Mains had returned from South Africa to coach Otago in the 2001 National Provincial Championship, and was appointed the Highlanders coach for 2002. Their season started with a narrow 30-28 loss to the Crusaders at Jade Stadium. That year the Highlanders also achieved a win over all 4 South African teams. The Gordon Hunter Memorial Trophy was also introduced that season, to be contested between the Highlanders and Blues. Gordon Hunter had coached both teams before dying from cancer in 2001. The match was played at Eden Park, and the Highlanders were ahead 15-3 at halftime, and eventually won 20-13. Their last home match of the season was against the Reds at Carisbrook. The Highlanders' 40-26 win meant that they had gone 3 seasons undefeated at Carisbrooke. The Highlanders finished 4th and played the Crusaders in Christchurch, where they lost 34-23. Although Jeff Wilson did score a try in his last match for the franchise. The 2003 season started with a 29-16 win over the Chiefs in Hamilton. They then defeated the Stormers and Bulls before losing to the Cats in Johannesburg. Their second loss occurred when the Crusaders defeated them 17-16 at Carisbrooke. The Highlanders had gone 3 seasons, 2000, 2001 and 2002, and 16 games unbeaten at Carisbrooke before that loss. The Highlanders then defeated the Blues 22-11 to retain the Gordon Hunter Memorial Trophy. In April that year it was revealed a rift had developed between coach Laurie Maines and some of the senior players in the squad. Anton Oliver was branded the ringleader by Maines, and after their final game of the season Maines resigned and was replaced by his assistant Greg Cooper. In contrast to their previous season, in 2004 the Highlanders conceded 44 tries, 12 more than in 2003, but scored 9 more tries than in 2003. Not only did they have a new head coach, but also 13 new players in their squad. This all contributed to them finishing the season 9th that season. The Highlanders' 2005 season started with a loss to the Blues at Carisbrooke. Following this, the side won 6 games consecutively, the first time the franchise had ever done so, after a draw with the Stormers and a bye. The Highlanders had gone unbeaten for 8 weeks. 3 weeks from the end of the round robin they were 3rd, but after losing their remaining 3 matches fell to 8th for the season. After 10 years the Super 12 was expanded to include 2 extra teams, the Western Force from Australia, and the Central Cheetahs from South Africa. The expanded competition was renamed the Super 14. The Highlanders continued under Cooper in 2006. After losing their first match of 2006 to the Crusaders, they then won the next 3. After only won 2 of the last 6 games, they finished the season ranked 9th. The 2007 ended with a similar result to 2006. The Highlanders again finished 9th on the table, and worst of the New Zealand teams. They finished the season with 5 wins and 8 losses from their 13 matches. While the fortunes of the franchise had been declining for a few years, they would bottom out with a player exodus following the 2007 Rugby World Cup. The squad's entire all-black front row of Carl Heyman, Anton Oliver, and Clark Dermody left for lucrative contracts in Europe, while star first 5 Nick Evans moved north to Auckland to play for the Blues, and hugely talented young lock James Ryan was forced to retire at age 24 due to injury problems. Joining the exodus were several other veteran starters, along with coach Greg Cooper, who left the franchise to take up an assistant coaching position with the Blues. The coach for the 2008 season, Glenn Moore, was appointed the 28th of August 2007. Moore was left with a weak side of young and inexperienced players which would stumble to a franchise worst record of only 3 wins against 10 losses during the 2008 Super 14 season, and finished as the lowest placed New Zealand team on the table. Jimmy Cowan, one of the team's few bright spots through this period, was appointed team captain for 2009. But things would improve little over the following 2 seasons as the team again limped to the worst record of the New Zealand clubs. When Moore was released as coach following the 2010 season, the franchise had compiled a record of only 10 wins against 29 losses in 3 seasons under his leadership. Former All Black Jamie Joseph was hired as coach for the 2011 Super Rugby season. while Jamie McIntosh replaced Cowan as team captain. The campaign would prove to be the franchise's most successful in several years, as they raced out to a 3-0 start, including a monumental away win over the Bulls in Pretoria. They remained in playoff contention for almost the entire season, sitting 8-4 at one juncture, before slumping under an injury cloud at the end of the year to finish 8th on the table. Highlanders won the 2015 Super Rugby season, defeating the Hurricanes 21-14 in Wellington. Phil Gifford called the win the greatest Super Rugby comeback this century. In 2017, the Highlanders won over the British and Irish Lions 23-22 at Dunedin, during the Lions' tour to New Zealand. Name and colours. The name Highlanders was chosen after the early Scottish settlers in the Lower South Island. These Scottish settlers were the founders of Dunedin, known as the Edinburgh of the South, and the city where the Highlanders are based. According to the Highlanders' official website, the name and image of the Highlander conjures up visions of fierce independence, pride in one's roots, loyalty, strength, kinship, honesty, and hard work. The colours of the Highlanders formally encompass the provincial colours of North Otago, and Southland, yellow, blue and maroon. Blue is also the predominant colour of the flag of Scotland, and is used by many sports teams in that country. On the 3rd of June 2011, the Highlanders introduced, controversially, a new predominantly lime green home kit. It was debuted in the Highlanders' final home match of the 2011 Super Rugby season. Despite the resounding negative feedback from fans, this kit was initially confirmed for the 2012 season. On the 6th of September 2011, however, the club announced a change of heart. They would be returning to their traditional blue strip for home matches, and using the lime green kit for away matches during the 2012 Super Rugby season. Franchise area. The Highlanders franchise area consists of the region controlled by the North Otago, and Southland rugby unions. Both Otago and Southland compete in the semi-professional ITM Cup, and North Otago in the Amateur Heartland Championship. However, given Otago and Southland's lack of success in the ITM Cup, the Highlanders have often looked further afield to sign players from. This is a reflection of Otago's historically large influx of people from distant lands during the early settlement period, particularly from the Celtic countries of Scotland and Ireland. Grounds. Starting with the 2012 season, the Highlanders moved into the Forsyth Bar Stadium, opened in August 2011. It was built to replace their original home of Carisbrooke, which was no longer suitable for international rugby, or as a venue for the 2011 Rugby World Cup. The Carisbrooke Stadium Trust was established in 2006 to manage the planning and construction of a new stadium. The new stadium is not on the current Carisbrooke site, but instead near the University of Otago and Otago Harbour. It is a roof, all-weather stadium, with a rectangular configuration, and permanent seating capacity of 25,000 that could be expanded to 30,748 if necessary. The Highlanders' original home ground was the 29,000 capacity Carisbrooke in Dunedin. Carisbrooke is also known as the Brook, or as the House of Pain, due to its reputation as a difficult venue to visit. The stadium was also well known for Dunedin's large student population that occupied the terraces, an uncovered concrete embankment at the eastern end of the ground. The Highlanders usually play at least one regular season match outside of Dunedin, at either Rugby Park in Invercargill or the Queenstown Events Centre in Queenstown. Prior to 2007, the regular season match was usually played at Rugby Park. However, in 2007 they played a match at the Queenstown Events Centre. The Highlanders have also played pre-season matches at Centennial Park in Oamaru and at the Showgrounds in Balclutha. On 28 March 2009, the Highlanders played a home game at FMG Stadium in Palmerston North against the Bulls. This game attracted a crowd of 10,000, one of the Highlanders' biggest of the 2009 season. Development team. The Highlanders have fielded a development team in competitions such as the Pacific Rugby Cup, and in matches against other representative teams for several seasons. Known as the Highlanders Development 15, the squad is selected from the best emerging rugby talent in the Highlanders catchment area, and is composed of Highlanders contracted players, wider training group members, under-20s, and selected club players. Team records. The 2014 season set several new records for the team, that had stood since the 1998 and 1999 seasons. They scored their most ever points, and most ever tries in a season. Lima Sopoaga set a franchise record for most points in a season with 178, becoming just the third Highlander to score 25 points in a game. The 2000 year saw perhaps their greatest victory ever with their 65-23 win against the Bulls, setting several records: most points in a match, most tries in a match with 9, and largest winning margin of 42. Former first 5/8 Tony Brown holds the record for most career points with 857. His 857 career points included 144 conversions, 183 penalties, and 6 drop goals. The most points in a single match is held by former fullback Ben Blair, who scored 28 against the Sharks in 2005. Most career tries is held by former player Jeff Wilson with 35. Wilson and Blair also share the record for most tries in a single match with 3, along with Israel Dag, Doug Howlett, Ryan Nicholas, Jeremy Stanley, and Too Varega. Coaches and management. In their first season, the Highlanders were coached by Gordon Hunter before he joined the All Blacks selection panel. Glenn Ross took over in 1997 and was not reappointed for the 1998 season. Tony Gilbert was appointed for the 1998 season, and again coached the team in 1999 before being appointed co-coach for the All Blacks. Peter Sloan was appointed Gilbert's successor for the 2000 season, and also coached them in 2001 before moving to coach the Blues. Laurie Mains returned to New Zealand from South Africa to replace Sloan for the 2002 season. Mains resigned following the 2003 season after a rift between him and senior players. Greg Cooper replaced Mains and coached the team from 2003 until 2007, when he left the franchise to take up the assistant coach's position with the Blues. Glenn Moore coached the club from 2008 through until 2010, when he was relieved of his duties after the club posted only 10 wins against 29 losses in his 3 years in charge. His replacement was former All Black flanker Jamie Joseph, who coached between 2011 and 2016. Tony Brown took over as head coach in 2017. Head coach Tony Brown, assistant coaches Clark Dermody, John Preston, Mark Hammett, Scott McLeod. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.